Our starting point for this tip is a report that just has this very initial income statement matrix with just the actuals measure, along with a slicer selection for month-to-date, quarter-to-date, or year-to-date views of the data and report. This is something relatively easy to set up in Power BI using calculation groups, and it's something that's very valuable for finance teams. In this tip, we'll look at displaying numbers with context by using KPI cards. Our context numbers will be prior year values, which we can create using time intelligence DAX measures. These are functions in DAX, the formula language used for the slice and dice metrics in a Power BI report. Unlike Excel functions, these DAX functions are related to the concept of dates and allow you to calculate a version of a measure that is shifted by a particular time period. So for example, there's a function in DAX, a time intelligence function, called SAMEPERIODLASTYEAR, which we can use to create prior year measures. Using time intelligence functions like this requires us to have a date table in our data model with consecutive dates, which we mark as a date table to tell Power BI this is our date table. To do this, we select the table in the fields pane, click on Mark as Date Table in the ribbon, and choose the date field. Now we want to create the prior period revenue measure. To do this, we use the DAX function SAMEPERIODLASTYEAR as the filter condition in calculate, passing in the measure we want to calculate prior year for, in this case revenue, and the dates table, and it returns the version of that measure shifted 1 year back. So if in the month slicer we had selected May 2022, for example, and we have our actuals measure, the prior period measure would show the actuals for May 2021. Let's now repeat for gross margin and net margin. These follow exactly the same pattern. The only parameter we need to pass into a time intelligence function is the date field from the date table, so these are really easy to use. In measures for context, next we want to display our core measures, revenue, gross margin, and net margin, as KPI cards. This is a good practice to show our core metrics on the front page of the report. The user can evaluate performance at a glance within a few seconds of looking at it. And the context of the prior period values is what we need to evaluate performance. So let's create a KPI card visual. It's under the Gauge, Card and KPI section of visuals. In this visual, we add revenue actuals under value. We add the date field to the trend axis bucket and the revenue prior year measure to the target. In the formatting pane, we then update the visual title to just be revenue. And also, the comparison value is called goal in the visual, which is a little strange. We can update this label to prior year instead. In the formatting pane, we go to the target label section, and here in the text box, we just replace the word goal with the words prior year. The formatting of the prior year value is also not shown correctly, so let's update the measure format to be dynamic and use the format string measure. Now we copy the revenue KPI card and paste it twice in the same row, distributing the visuals horizontally so that the spacing is even between them. On the second KPI card, we could leave the date field in the trend axes and just replace revenue with gross margin and revenue prior year with gross margin prior year. We then update the title of the KPI visual to be gross margin, and we also need to update the format of the prior year measure to be a percentage format to 1 decimal place. Finally, we repeat this for net margin in the third KPI visual. We replace the value and target buttons with the net margin and net margin prior year measures, and update the number format of the prior year measure. If we look at the variance to target, it is showing a 5% variance, the difference between the 67 and 71%. So it's a percentage of a percentage. I think it would be more intuitive to show this value as the actual percentage difference, so 4%. To do this, we could change a setting in the target label section of the formatting pane, updating the display to be value rather than percentage.